Here I rise above the claustrophobic, like a surfacing swimmer gasps for breath, liberated.
I am not lost here, but free. Free to explore the chambers of my mind.
Here I draw out a story. Like the artist, my canvas is blank.
My paints are my thoughts, my paintbrush a pen.
My oils form sentences in your mind. I am the Shawnee, the storytelling magician.
Who spins invisible silken threads so that you, the reader, can see what I see.
Smell what I smell, hear what I hear.
Even though we are worlds apart, you are now part of my story.
My journey of liberation.
Here at the Duncairn Writers Hub.
There's nothing that gives me more pride and joy than working with these people. They're absolutely exceptional. Yeah. Yeah, every single one of them is so wildly talented, and it's just been such a gift to get to give them this space and to really nurture their voice as a writer. It's been so beautiful.
The Writers Hub originally formed from the writing classes that we took that we really enjoyed, and then we were like, oh, this is actually a good bit of crack, like.
People were ready to keep going with it because, you know, we felt it was a good vibe. There was good chats, there was good crack, and it was great sort of creative outlet and space for people to get along.
We meet usually every 2 weeks, and we bring pieces that we've written, pieces that we're working on, and we get to share it in a space where everyone's very supportive. They give feedback, they give sort of direction and pointers for things to include or maybe to change and amend, and other inspiration.
The Duncairn are going to be pushing it as well.
I keep saying to people, oh no, I'm not in writer's class anymore. We're a writer's group now. So it was great to have that motivation, and because if you didn't have that, it's just easy to say, oh yeah, I must do something on that. Oh, I'd like to write something on that. And life overtakes you, and you just don't get round to it. So now we have a motivational urge that's fulfilled almost.
Probably my mum was the first person who sent me to the writing classes, and they were like, oh, right, you should go to that, you should. And I'm like, no, Mum, it's something I haven't written in like a long time. And now I'm into it, and I'm writing again like nobody's business. And it's just, I don't think I could have done it without the support that Duncairn and all the people around it has given me. So it's such a blessing.
There's an amazing energy in this place that it kind of is a very healing place. What the Duncairn brings, especially to North Belfast, is amazing. North Belfast, to me, is this kind of patchwork of wounds. We see the West, and the West has this huge, beautiful community that rallies around and kind of has all this different bits and pieces of life to it. And North Belfast, unfortunately, we have these little boundaries that stop us.
We have a bad history in North Belfast, and we suffered so much in the Troubles. And I was a wee girl when the Troubles started, so we had so much bad history. It would be wonderful to hear something really good and really magnificent almost coming out of it, like somebody getting something published, you know, and being acknowledged for the people that we are. You know, we have all that history, but it makes us who we are, it makes this area what it is.
We live in an area that has been, I suppose, there's been a lot of trauma. It's not just a trauma of conflict, but there's 101 other traumas that also happen in the growing up in this place in terms of violence. Even when we went to schools, they were violent places. And the impact of a lot of that was that poetry and writing was seen as something that belonged to elites. People who didn't live around these areas. It was someone else who lived somewhere else, who had the means and also the networks to actually get them into places and open doors and be those people. And I'm certainly not one of those people. I'm just an ordinary guy from a working class area.
Art becomes something for the elites to enjoy, and it's like, no, we can keep this alive here and do it ourselves and continue to bring that art and beauty to people who deserve it. Like all things in life, places are fleeting and do not last forever. In fact, some don't last long at all. There are places you have to be, there are places you want to be, and there are places you need to be. The places you have to be are often a duty, a promise, a chore. They are rigid and heavy, often waving the carrot while hiding the stick. Aspirations are built off the back of them, distracting you with gold while your feet become as heavy as lead. Places you have to be are an expectation that tears at you little by little, knocking you down as you go. The places you want to be, on the other hand, can be glorious, amazing, exhilarating, but they always come with great risk. Often they are the dreams unfulfilled, the love never returned, and the destinations of wasted journeys. At their best and at their worst, they are the beginning of tears. Teachable moments to be replicated or avoided at all costs. But places you need to be, they're something else. They are something magic, something beautiful. They're hidden in the fabric of existence, never noticed before you arrive, and often discarded after you leave. They hold the moments that nourish the soul, encourage your growth, and heal the wounds you felt would never mend. The best thing about them is they happen everywhere. A trip to the wrong forest, a bus stop next to a stranger, a church where God has moved out. These places will stay with you for the rest of your life. So look out for them as you pass them by. Thank you very much.
You shouldn't allow society to actually think that it's macho to turn around and say, that's not for men. That's not for tough guys from North Belfast. We're all Belfast people. Poetry's for somebody else. It's for some outlaw like Seamus Heaney. It's not for young fellas or young girls or whatever from around these areas. I think that the sooniest events and other events like that allow people to have access to these things, the people who don't have access to them and who constantly think they should repress those type of creative ideas and creative talents that lie in every single person.
Belfast itself is peopled originally by people from the country. That sort of rural tradition does also infiltrate into the urban landscape and into the urban feelings and even expressions and language, because we take that language with us. The renaissance of Gaelic, the Irish language, is now filtering through.
One of the most wonderful things about Michael is that he is bilingual. He speaks as Gaelica, and he's going to do a beautiful piece where he speaks in both English and Irish.
This story I want to talk about is the things that spark some of the memories of my dad. He was an Irish speaker as well, and he was a lifelong language activist here in Belfast. And he held the stories of the solstice close to his heart. And he made the pilgrimage to the Passage Tomb down at Newgrange before he passed away. But it's not just the language and the tales of winter solstice that is the thing that triggers the strongest memories I have of him. Believe it or not, the strongest memory that's triggered is the smell of drum pipe tobacco. So this yarn I'm going to do next is in Irish and in English, and it's called Unruin the Secret. Fhui solas yali e gular gul Being posty or be sick fannacht or la nullig. Is he had gaffel leis and scale, when truer seer her, wonder her, eglana when swelt despair. Under a waning winter's light, children wait in awe of Christmas Day, absorbing mysterious tales of wise men from the east, guided by a star in the night sky. Arkham is Jacksa Chinya, ag fannacht Grainstad Nevri. Nor when solace bua or in Dorcadus, Janan and Chase, Malekan Nis Chinya, August Curran Sheikh Hollow or Mahula. I gaze into this hearth, awaiting nature's turning point, when the light defeats darkness and the earth is reborn. Heat tightens my cheek and makes my eyelids heavy. Tugging on Cahir Ilyak, Comperdak, Sheer or Wachrin the Smeechime, Sheer Gji Am, Nurvime Og, August Misha, and Mahir and Cahir Kiana Maravi Riu, and Enyak Lemahar, Nyanaji Wahir. Being Shomra Lan, Labalu, Fipa Tobak Drum, August May Hien, Gaffa Go Homlin. The Skilta, Fui Vrishu na Hollefest, Eglawa, Dini Nyau Hilta. The armchair's cozy embrace transports me back through the years to when I was a boy. Back to a memory of when I was sat in this exact same chair in the company of my late father. The aroma of his drum pipe tobacco filled the room, alongside tales of monsters and dragons defeated with help from other worlds. On Shin, Lig Shay Rundu, Runa Harla, or Aniha Kiana Blendio Hin, Mahanik, Tush Mahori Marvis Ega, Le Scale Moor, Scale Gomei Mesheg Chakt, Posture Grainstad Yevri. And then he shared a secret of how he himself, on this very night, had received a visit from his dead parents, bringing him news that I was coming, a winter solstice baby. Waskol mega chubin, my yal or flesk sachinya. Marawal golamurum, Tyrian a horn, or an Cahir Ilyak, August Maran and Bolu Tabak drum, Gafanya gal and lay. The crack of a wooden log pulls me back to reality. If I am not mistaken, there on the armchair is the imprint where he was sat, and the smell of his drum tobacco lingers until the new dawn.
There's a big age range in the Writers Hub, and I really appreciate that, because you have people who have very, very different life experiences and also have a lot of different perspectives on pieces of work.
The activism that I have in my writing comes from my very early training. I initially hoped to go into social work, but I ended up in the law, and I'm more interested in social justice. So a lot of issues arising out of homelessness, women's rights, violence against women and men, children's issues, wider global issues. They all feed into my writing because they're part of me and they're part of all of us. So anything that we digest in our brains is ultimately, with me, comes out through my hands onto the page.
One of the really wonderful things about the Writers Hub is that they all share the same values, a lot of the same values, and that happened accidentally. I am not coercing people into being activists, although it is happening, and I'm delighted. So They were really, really, really passionate tonight about having pieces that talked about the current tragedy that is Gaza. And I think that is so wonderful. And I love that they're so steadfast in their political beliefs and they're unafraid, you know, to write about that. Because, you know, there's lots of reasons why you might shy away from writing about that and why you might shy away about reading it at an event. But we are so, so delighted to have two beautiful pieces about Gaza tonight. So the first is by Bridget, who is our poet. She is just so poetic. Her writing is so beautiful, and I cannot wait for you to hear it. So this is our segment on Gaza, and we stand in solidarity with those in need. So thank you so much.
There are no children in kibbutzim. There are no children in Gaza. Here is the waiting area for the dead and the living. Soft teddy bears riddled with hard bullets. God have mercy. Yahweh have mercy. Allah have mercy. Blood from our hands in the eyes of our children. Human, not Israeli, not Palestinian. Skin and dust motes of life. Let the little children come on to me. Too soon, too hungry, too thirsty, too wounded. Yahweh have mercy. Allah have mercy. God have mercy. Here are the children of the rubble. Dust angels and fairies, deaf and dumb, mute now. Silent with wonder, shock and awe, the sky has fallen. Tucked into the ground, held still by sheets of concrete. Allah have mercy. God have mercy. Yahweh have mercy. Lullabies of drones and dreams of cold, clean water. Hot, fresh bread and warmth of hugs and love. I lie consumed by our hate. They are the dark bruises on our souls. God have mercy. Yahweh have mercy. Allah have mercy. Let us massage the skin to cut the knots of fear. Wash in tears a scrap of life cut from a dying womb. Sleep now, my little one, Akushla. I baptize you and write your name on your breathless chest. Evaporated, eviscerated, a scorched body back to a scorched earth. There are no body bags in Gaza. There is no need for body bags in Gaza. Allah have mercy. Yahweh have mercy. God have mercy.
After we read to each other, we would generally give each other a bit of feedback and talk about what that brought up for us.
These are people that I trust and people who push me to explore things in a different way or who educate me in areas that I just haven't reviewed before. As a writer, I generally focus a lot of my activity on what I've experienced growing up, and being a member of the Writers Hub helps me view things in slightly different ways.
There's people here older than me, there's people that's younger than me, and it's an amazing kind of, it's just like past, present and future all going on at once. It's fantastic, it's exciting.
I definitely love the broader experience that we get from all of it, like the different viewpoints on life and like how we went through it. Like having someone who can be like, you know, like a couple decades older than I am, or someone like closer to my age. Everybody's
so different, but it's great to hear everybody's different slant on things, or different way of coming at it, different way of telling the story. It's great, and just broadens your horizon so much.
And it's not even just learning about writing and learning about the history of North Belfast through people who have lived through things that I've never lived through.
Really, I'm a Belfast girl, and I'm proud to be a Belfast girl, and I think that we have such an expressive and characterful way of saying things And I find that I put that into my writing. I use sayings that I heard my mummy saying or things that my granny might have done. I was 12 years old the first time I saw my granny. But maybe I should explain. It wasn't the actual first time I'd seen her. We lived just 2 streets away. I saw her almost every day. Sometimes my sisters and I were bribed, manipulated even, into an overnight stay. Our stomachs churning at the very thought of the congealed grey mass that she called porridge the next morning. Our Dash said, storing up trouble with all that milk and sugar. Life, like porridge, wasn't meant to be sweet. And those evenings would end up sitting at her feet, big hanks of yarn suspended from her outstretched arms, while she wound balls of itchy, scratchy wool that she'd later knit into itchy, scratchy jumpers for us to wear to school. Sit up straight she'd snap, as we wearied of the weight, of the boredom, of the effort required to sit up straight. You wee girls are in for a queer shock, she'd say. You need to smarten yourselves up a bit before you are much older. She never actually said what the queer shock was likely to be, but our granny was on a mission to toughen us girls up. And despite the slow death of our eyesight, our granny was knitting us our very own hair shirts. So when I say it was the first time I'd seen her, what I really meant was the first time I'd seen her since she died. She died when I was 10. So it was a bit of a surprise when I saw her passing one day on the number 77 Waterworks bus. Now, that was the bus that ran right across the town, Limestone Road all the way to Donegal Pass. She smiled and waved as the big red double-decker spluttered away from me. It was still the old ones then, with a conductor and his ticket machine, with a platform at the back where people might jump on or jump off, sometimes while the bus was still moving. I took to my heels, run down the road, yelled for the driver to wait. Maybe I could make it to the next stop, but the lights were against me, and I ended up choking on a lung full of diesel fumes instead. But it was her, wasn't it? She looked so happy. And where was she going? And on the Waterworks bus too. Did my granny even know anybody that lived across the town? But the thing that kept me awake that night wasn't that I thought I'd seen a ghost. I couldn't recall ever having seen my granny looking quite so cheerful. I wished I could. Wished that we had brought her the happiness other children brought their grannies. But my granny wasn't of a mind for frivolities. When the sun was shining, rain surely wasn't far. Our cup was never half full, and our toast, well, it always fell butter side down. So it seemed to my childish heart that my granny had found happiness in the hereafter, happiness that she'd never found in all her 67 years among the living. Now, I didn't tell anybody I'd spotted Granny on the bus. My mother would have doused me with holy water, and I didn't want to upset her. Anyway, my brothers would have had a field day. And after a week or so, I wasn't so sure about the whole episode. I began to doubt that it had even been her. Don't all our ladies look the same, don't they? I decided it must have been a trick of the light. Imagination had got the better of me. Beer plays with your mind when you're on your own and the nights are getting dark. And well, then I saw her again. About 6 weeks later, there she was, the bottom deck of the number 3 Antrim Road via Carlisle Circus. She gave me a nod, a discreet gesture of the hand, a wave the Queen of England would have been proud of. This time I knew it was her. It really was. She sat near the back, facing out onto the footpath. I could have almost reached out and touched her. A hand might have passed through the bus's grimy window. Well, why wouldn't it? when you're face to face with your dead granny. I might have felt the chaff of her good tweed coat, the one she'd bought the winter before she passed. I might have felt the velvety pile on her awful green hat, the one with the big green rose stuck right on the front, the one my sister and I hated, the one we giggled at when we sat beside her in Mass. They'll be crying for all that laughing, she'd say. We'd just giggle all the more. But there she was, looking, smiling, nodding at me. I looked away, pretended I hadn't seen. It was that hat, that stupid, stupid hat. And I was with my friends. Anyway, she was dead, wasn't she? November, my birthday came and went. 13, a milestone. A teenager, almost a grown-up, in the days when birthday expectations extended no further than a candle on an iced Florence cake after dinner. I went to the pictures with my friends. I was 13 after all. Disney's Jungle Book and an ice cream on a stick from the cigarette girl at the interval. And there was my granny, gazing down from the front row of the balcony. She had her coat off and that stupid hat still perched on her head. She looked like she just had a shampoo set, like she'd just been to Miss May's hairdresser's. She licked her ice cream, held it aloft, blew me a kiss. So maybe I was wrong. I had to be wrong. My granny didn't do kisses, didn't do displays of affection. I tried to remember at least one pat on the head, one stroke of my cheek, one darling, one sweetheart, one love. To my disappointment, there were none. But she looked younger, softer. You might have even said pretty, like somebody had pressed her rewind button. So I waved back. My friends followed the direction of my hand, then looked back at me. What are you doing? They said. Who are you waving at? Nobody, I said, just some wee kid up in the balcony. Well, what else was I supposed to say? Oh, it's just my granny. We buried her 3 years ago, but look, there she is upstairs in the balcony, licking an ice cream. Only she wasn't. The space she had filled was a space again, empty of people, of children, of grannies in embarrassing hats. I sort of expected to see her outside, tapping her boot, handbags swinging from her folded arms. My granny didn't like being kept waiting, especially not by children. Disrespectful, she said. But the cinema emptied around me. People rushed past, anxious to get away before the national anthem. People who weren't about to stand for anybody's queen. So can you feel shame and delight all at the same time? Can you feel embarrassment and sadness and relief? My granny had gone, but where to? And why was she here? By the time my 14th birthday came around, I'd seen her at least a dozen times. Oh, maybe more, maybe 20 times. But all was at a distance. And all was out of reach. And I know it's hard to believe, but she was a picture of health. I mean, how could a dead woman, a woman who's been dead and buried for nearly 4 years, look so happy, so healthy, so full of life? I can't say I wasn't scared, because I'd always been scared of her. My granny was a very scary woman, but I missed her when she wasn't there. I was always searching, always hoping she'd been around the next corner, on the next bus. But how? And where did she go? In between, when she wasn't, I mean, if I didn't understand what she wasn't, how could I ever understand what she was?
In my professional career, I write, but that's for other people. As a member of the Writers Hub, I'm able to write for myself, and it's just a joy. It's more than a hobby, it's a passion, and it just is everything.
It's cathartic, it's therapeutic. It feels so good to write about something that kind of is maybe drawn on something that's part of my life or the world or something I've seen, and how I get that out just makes me feel better.
I started writing in 2018, and I am in my final year of studying to be a therapist, and that was inspired through my writing as well, and through having gone to counselling. And I think that really sort of opening up that door has been beneficial for me as a person, but also opening conversations with other people. And we had that in one of the sessions in the Writers Hub, where I had brought a piece on writer's block. And it was really interesting to see how a discussion opened on the difficulty of being a writer, but how isolating it can be, and then how difficult it can be to, say, go to certain places in writing, but then how to actually get back out of those places, and how important it is to have a group of support for that, to sort of help ground you whenever you go into maybe those darker places in writing, or even into the bright places.
I get a degree of satisfaction from work, but I don't get a huge degree of it. I don't feel the passion, the joy, and the freedom that I feel whenever I'm writing something. And the Writers Hub is a fantastic way I get to do that.
Writing is pretty much should be a cornerstone, or I think it is one of the cornerstones of my self-care as well. And yeah, I think that it is very important.
So this piece is called Coming Back from Writer's Block, and it's about writer's block, but also, I guess more widely, it's about sense of feeling stuck in life, but also the importance of rest, the importance of loved ones and community, and then of just really taking care of yourself, remembering what's important. But yeah, this is Coming Back from Writer's Block. If I were being honest, I would say this to you. Some days, it won't be easy. Some days your pencil will be heavy as lead and your creativity frozen solid. And you'll walk through a bitterly cold night, being snapped at by snow and torn by the piercing wind. You'll walk and you'll walk with your leaden pencil in hand, and your scribbles will feel unimportant, unoriginal, and useless. And you'll throw a page down in frustration, and another, until you find a solitary cave to rest in. You'll sit and wonder why you followed this path, whether it's right to write when there's sometimes so much to say with silence and so little to say with words. You'll lie down, defeated and lost, with a sense that the stories living within you are just out of reach. And you'll sleep to restless dreams of storming seas and ships off course, of locked doors and of strange faces in familiar places. And while you rest, you'll not notice the people who have walked behind you, who knelt down to pick up your words and smile at your prose, whose souls were unlocked by the voice of your pencil. And on the wind they cocked their ears to catch a whisper of the hope you brought alive in their hearts. And they'll come to you, arms outstretched to pick you up and remind you of the words that they held so dear. They'll tell you that a heavy burden gets lighter with company, that creativity flourishes when you let go, that resting doesn't only bring new dawns, but that it beckons daybreak and dusk, that it lets you witness the sunsets of yesterdays and the sunrises of tomorrows, and most of all, they'll take your weary, heavy hands and hold them until they relax into the gentle hands they've always been. And it'll all come back to you. The forest, the bench, the light striking the smoke, the robin in the sunrise and the curve of her neck, the sun dripping on the ocean, the phoenix on the mountain, the pain, the joy, the love, you. It'll all come back to you in one fell swoop. And you'll look up and you'll see their smiles twinkling in the early sunrise, and you'll be ready for bursting. And that's how it goes. The ebb and the flow, the up and the down, the inspiration and expiration, the light and the darkness. It won't be easy, but it'll be worth it.
One of the scariest things about my writing was like reading in front of people. Like public speaking has never been one of my strong suits, I would say. But like getting out there, you know, reading out in like pubs and like, you know, different aspects really helped me like come into my own as my writer. Like how people like would listen to my writing compared to like just reading it themselves. I feel like definitely gives you more control of your own work, like helps bring more people into the fold, so it does. So I'm very proud of that as well.
Sitting in a sulking silence, the busy buzz of electric static and warm wirings whirring inside my laptop, as I stare blank and bored to the white foam of the glitching cadaver that is my university revision. For me at least, this past week or two, the unfortunate visage is now a familiar sight. Now more prominent due to the unfortunate juxtaposition with the holiday season that seems to be unwrapping itself in my proximity. There is no white Christmas outside, mostly just a grey winter. Rain and sleet sinking underfoot, as little white promises of snow sneak from the sky, only to be upended by a quick flash of rain. The large lap cat of a cloud sits lazy on the horizon, just past the window. It doesn't seem to promise any snowball fights, not anytime soon. I accept that in all possibility, that there shall be no starry night this Christmas, no wrapping up under warm duvets, sheets and pillows piled high, comatose after being stuffed with all manner of greasy grub to soothe the soul. That dream died with adulthood and exam season. The foggy glass matching foggy sky and a foggy future of what's to come. Then suddenly, a crack and a fizzle, somewhere in some state over yonder, a firework flies high skyward in search of free air and bursts with bubbling blues and reds roaring out across the night sky, sending shivers through the cityscape. I shake my head in the sense of false wisdom that comes with early adulthood, and for just a moment, I stop and contemplate my present situation, how I complain and cry in my situation. It's in the single digits outside, and I'm inside sporting a t-shirt and jeans. Money is tight this year, and I'm wondering whether I could stuff my face with some fast food slop to somehow comfort me in my time of need. I heard a firework blast into the sky, and I sat back and sniggered. Others somewhere far away and yet so close are running for cover. Tonight, I'll sleep secure and sound under sheets of linen and wool. Others will be tucked into sheets of glass and rubble. Slag and speckles of debris spat about their homestead. Babies were born and cried and died all within the space of a few hours, never even named due to the brevity of their existence. Not a soul there to name them. I complain of schoolwork and the chore of it, even when now schools of thought were blown away without one, only leaving pockmarks scarring the earth abound, or a port of horror more gruesome than what could be put onto pages, written in the miles and miles and miles of bombed-out buildings, rubble-filled streets, and the cries calling into the night, until eventually they grow into the most silent of nights, holy in only the horror of hands clasped together, praying to whatever God may listen to end the night and the horror. There is no starry night where I am this season, but unfortunately for others, the night skies abound, with crackles of flame and fire swirling in an aurora borealis of brutality, shooting stars streak into the sky, soaring high, each a wish, a hope, a prayer, that they might make it to the morning, so that the other shooting stars, storming, scarring, screeching through the sky, won't sink to the earth and give fruit to the wish that was made, that they don't deserve to exist. This Christmas, this holiday season, After I finish my revision, I'll zip in my bag, go home, love and be loved by those around me, sink into soft and sweet rest wrapped in blanket and bed and home. I won't see the night sky, or make a wish on a shooting star, or maybe even get a present this year. But to be home, to be safe, this year might be the most greatest and most thoughtful present of them all. Thank you all.
We get to share our experiences and to grow personally as well as professionally as writers.
A group of people who come together with a shared interest. I find it a great motivator because I don't want to turn up with nothing for other people to hear.
I write poetry, short stories, various attempted novels, essays, thoughts, jottings, anything and everything.
My writing is very influenced by Dr. Seuss and Mr. Rogers mainly, so I really want to help kids understand their emotions and to really tell them, you know, you have all these feelings, but it's okay. Like those are normal. Those are part of growing up into a person. So most of my writing is children's poetry.
Tolkien and like J.R. Martin would usually be my writing style, and sometimes like I remember getting told that like, oh, you sound like Ernest Hemingway, and I was like, oh Jesus Christ, Ernest Hemingway, my God. I was like, I couldn't believe it, but I'm really proud that I have a writing style I can put my name to, and I think that's my favourite thing about it.
I think we're just such funny people, you know, that real caustic humour, and I try to put that into my writing.
Look, you see the group, some of the people can write in such beautiful ways that I would struggle to figure it out, and I don't know how they do it. What comes naturally for me is how I speak, how local people speak, be it Belfast, be it Armagh, and that is what I find that comes out of me the easiest. So it's been commented, it's kind of like a local voice. It's how people communicate. And I like that. I just like the feel of it. I think it's a more natural way of doing it.
There's stories there's stuff I can't shut up about, you know. I love Dermot's funny stories. Dermot's stories just kind of blow my mind, and I've told, like, Catherine, you have to hear what Dermot's story was this week.
Some stories are real, some stories are not real. This story is not real. Or is it? It's not. Or is it? Still, no. This is called Miracle on 30 Ann Street. Martin Begley wasn't too sure about the existence of heaven or hell. He firmly believed, however, that if hell did exist, it would almost certainly have at least one small section of it dedicated to spending an eternity in a cramped card factory 3 days before Christmas. Standing motionless in the queue for one working till, where the only two sounds available to him were the screams of wayward children and Micheál Bublé echoing over the tinny sound system, which was precisely where he was stuck at this present moment. Hands laden with things from a list that had been thrust at him before going out the door. Shopping bags with thin plastic handles were now cutting into his poor, precious fingers like cheese wire. His tongue padded around the inside of his mouth like a dry sponge, miserably searching for moisture. Things hadn't always looked so forlorn. Just last night, he was the very picture of a man with the world at his feet. Pints were had and jubilations were exclaimed. Music sang through his ears and he sang back. Joy to the world and Merry Christmas, your arse. My round or is it yours? Yours so. Good man Declan, I'll get the next one. And yeah, we'll get the later bus. We have plenty of time. Well, there were no pints now. And not even so much as a room temperature bottle of water to sustain him. A young one of about 5 careened around the corner ahead at full speed, nimbled past the adults in their coats, flying into Martin's bags on his left-hand side and forcing one to briefly spin on itself, wrapping high around his ring and little finger. Like a rope swing he would have used as a child, twisting and twisting the seat as he lay across it on his belly until he could strain it no more and then release, spinning him on the spot with dizzy glee. He winced, letting the bag relax a little as he continued to shuffle. Nowhere. The bubbly teen at the till said to the lady up front, "No, I can't see it here, but sure, I'll just go out the back and check." And she jumped off her seat to head to the storeroom, popping on a Santa hat as if it required a dress code. This is it, thought Martin with despair. This might actually be what finishes me off. But then, the pressure around him seemed to change, just for a second or two. But like the air before a storm, it became full and powerful, pregnant with energy and anticipation. Then a brilliant beam of the most magnificent light appeared, subduing almost as fast to a gentle golden hum, as the light seemed to harden and take the shape of a sword. It wasn't so much as the blade formed from thin air, but was transported from another time and place, and oh, what a shape it was. Golden, faultless pommel, with a single thin gold strip circling through a grip of the deepest blue, right to the hilt. Blade broad as a man's hand. It was impossible to tell if the perfect metal was silver or gold in colour, because truthfully, it was both and neither. Light seemed to emanate from deep within, as if to suggest that it could have shone as bright as day if its wielder willed it so. A blade that had formed as two galaxies collided with one another, that in the midst of such brutal, terrible catastrophe, the stardust swirled for eons, until all that was left was a weapon that had willed itself into existence. That across the universe, centuries-long battles had ended the day this weapon appeared and decided to grace one side its aid. Scholars who searched the cosmos for its existence only knew that the blade could lay immovable for thousands of years, waiting until such a time that it felt one creature cry out in such anguish that it would go to them. And this is how it found itself to the side of Martin Begley, 38-year-old married father of 3 in the middle of Card Factory on Ann Street in Belfast. It hovered before him, an almost electric hum to it as it waited patiently for Martin to do what he sensed he should. Because once this sword graced you with its presence, like a newborn cub to the teat, instinct took over. Martin slowly lowered the bags from his hands and grasped the handle of the blade, and it was like coming home. Like putting on a pair of comfy pants that cup and breathe in all the ways they should. A broad smile broke over his face. He swung, a gentle underarm motion upwards, but it was perfect. There would never not be a perfect swing from this sword, as it took over and did what it was created to do. It cleaved through the first row of people in front, so effortlessly. It was as if they had ceased to be there in the first place. Were it not for the blood spray and viscera, now detailing the off-white above, Martin would have thought that he had sliced through air. He had begun. It took mere seconds to cut a path through the crowd of shoppers at Card Factory, not a person there aware of the happenings until it was all too late. Begone to the Bublés. Have at you, novelty Santa, and snowmen that cost 3 times what they did the previous year. Avast, annoying shoppers who stopped dead in doorways to look at their phones, ignorant to the flurry of football behind them. Out now into Ann Street, and the carnage was later described on Belfast Live to be of a biblical scale. With each swing and swipe, the blade felt like it was growing in size. Crowds scattered and gutted at the mere sight of it. He was at Arthur's Square in under a minute and left the scene looking like a surreal work of abstract expressionism, like if Jackson Pollock worked exclusively in blood red. Martin parted Christian preacher heads from torsos. Going to hell? Ha! Sure, he'd been there already and queued 25 minutes for the pleasure. Buskers were separated from overly loud sound systems. And if you think that he stopped at children, well, I've disappointing news for you. There might be some solace in the fact that they were only the annoying youths, the loud and the screaming, the nagging and demanding. But when a blood frenzy is on, little else matters in the eyes of the weapon wielder. Indeed, the bold Pamela Ballantyne was soon reporting on the scene. An odd choice, given the situation. Martin might have expected more of a Conor Macaulay, or even a Barra Best. As it turns out, Pamela was picking up some last-minute gifts from Dunn's. And ever the professional sprang into action with her iPhone and a live stream on Insta, sponsored by Connolly's of Moy, of course. No matter, she too was soon an explosion of red mist, just like the rest. Soon, Martin had cut his way through to Royal Avenue and spotted the Continental Market. Brightly lit stands, colours only slightly louder than the speakers behind them, blasting noise and pound signs into your face. Pathetic pints of piss in plastic cups. As people jostled to stand on beer-soaked carpets, surrounded by loud and sweaty patrons. The symbol of all consumerism, and at its heart, the tree at City Hall. Its reign must end, thought Martin. Infused with the power of the sword, he felt that he had grown to a mountain of a man and was there within several leaps. He blasted through the crowd, sword flashing, sending entrails onto the open grills of nearby bratwurst peddlers, like they were some sort of gruesome delicacy. Staring up at the baubles and lights, he swung for the tree trunk. But the blade stopped. Confused, Martin swung again and nothing. He stepped back, dumbfounded. This cannot be, he thought to himself, raising for another swing, and, "Excuse me, mister," came the voice from the ether. More confusion, blinking away the cloudy scene of limbs and innards at his feet until clarity was upon him. Standing up was the head of an increasingly agitated middle-aged woman, heavy-set, wearing a Christmas jumper scene with Mrs. Claus speech bubbles saying, "All I want for Santa is a ride in his sleigh," with a shirtless Santa looking over his shoulder and giggling cheekily. She was agitated because Martin seemed to have the grasp of one end of festive wrapping paper, blue with snowmen on it, dancing and building igloos. And he was thunking her over the head with it. "Would you mind not hitting me with your wee chip of wrapping paper there? It's just that it's starting to get annoying, so it is." She turned back around, flushed at the annoyance. Martin now fully back in Card Factory and the land of the living, sheepish and blushing. The shop girl was back too, and customers were being served again, the queue showing signs of life and movement. He returned the wrapping paper to the box he'd taken it out from and moved on. $4.99 for 1 metre, he noted to himself. Sure, I can get that too for the price of 3 in Tesco's. Thanks.
Dermot, I mean, his writing is full of his Armagh accent. I mean, you can hear it in his writing. Kieran spent so much time in England, but he's actually from the same area as I was from, quite a bit younger. But his writing has that Belfast thing going on as well.
The majority of my writing focuses on religious, queer and political narrative, and I'm from North Belfast, and a lot of my writing is focused in and around the setting of home.
I want to tell you that things are about to take a turn, okay? So the next 4 stories are mental, and I will not be held responsible for how you feel about them. No, they're really beautiful, they're great, but they're a bit of crack, so things are about to get funny. And I was actually told to not say that in case you don't laugh, because you might not find them funny, but that's all right. So we've got Stephen up first, and then we've got Kieran, and I'm not going to lie, that's the one that I really won't be held responsible for. Kieran says, yeah, I'm not even going to explain it, because you'll get it.
What if Santa Claus had to turn to OnlyFans? And to be super on trend, I'll throw in a wee line from Wicked here. My story is called Hunky Claws and asks the question, are people born kinky? Or do they have kinkiness thrust upon them? Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. And it was most definitely snowing as I watched the world's #1 porn star perform a scene live on camera for his adoring fans. A show that would have made the Pleasure Boys at the Devonish look like a Hallmark Christmas movie. So there I was, in a kitschy decorated cabin, just a 2-hour drive north of Lapland, at the other end of my childhood hero's first ever public interview. An opportunity that Oprah would have Belfast kissed Harry and Meghan to get her mittens on. As a fierce log fire crackled to my left and flirted with my frozen beard, I desperately inspected the room to find items synonymous with the man, the legend, the curator of the infamous naughty and nice list. And in a way, they were all there. Yes, there were canes, but they were made of leather, not candy. There were stockings, but they looked something like you would find in an Ann Summers catalogue. And as for the mistletoe, I won't even mention what that was hanging from. But most importantly, the 6'4" man before me was not the trusting individual who I remembered from my holidays are coming glories of my youth. Instead, the specimen before me was dressed in knee-high boots, braces, and a red fur-lined jockstrap that advertised perfect washboard abs. In fact, this Santa looked more like the absolute ride bucket from the Diet Coke brick ads. Adverts that I pretended didn't grab my attention as a curious teenager. While I wasn't complaining and would have welcomed an invite to sit in the man's lap, all I could seem to ask myself was, what the Feliz Navidad had happened to my St. Nicholas, my Father Christmas, my Kris Kringle, my Sinterklaas, my Daddy Nanolig. However, it wasn't long before my curiosity was satisfied, not the lap-straddling fantasy, but rather the reason behind this Santa 2.0. As we sipped over mulled wine, the loved celebrity, who had been respected for over 1,600 years, explained to me that in a world of social media and the Kardashians, he had been forced to diversify his brand. He produced charts, graphs, reports, all that would have made an accountant snowball all over that grotto. And he talked me through the decrease in the number of children who believed in the magic of Christmas. Boo. It transpired that the once portly, jolly, white-bearded man identified an opportunity to carve out a new niche. Turning to the internet, this savvy businessman spotted a gap in the market for those once naughty children who had since matured into content-craving kink dogs. Having previously capitalised on Christianity in the 4th century, the genius explained to me how he had thrusted himself, so to speak, into the online world of OnlyFans. And alas, in the height of COVID, Hunky Claws was born. An adult entertainer with over 20 million subscribers to his festive fetish website, northpolehub.org. Speaking about this transformation, Hunky Claws explained, 2020 was a bit of a bitch of a year for the mythical community. Take the Sandman, for example. He ended up in therapy because humans were up all night playing online bingo. As for my elves, they went on strike claiming job dissatisfaction. And I couldn't blame them. What with people only asked for 10 tomatoes and enough toilet rolls that year? For my mental health, and with nothing really to fill my days with, I did what every other working from home spoofter did and took up sea swimming and counting my steps. Hunky Claws further explained that it was during this health and fitness phase that a new target market presented itself. He detailed, with fewer cookies and mince pies, the weight just flew off me. It was Jack Frost himself that first mentioned to me the online world. He had been showing off his Fitbit achievements on Instagram, and one day he posted a picture of us. That night, my wife screamed the cabin down. You see, Mariah Carey had commented saying she didn't want a lot for Christmas, and there was just one thing she needs. Turns out all she wanted for Christmas was me. And when I started to read the comments, people were saying the same things. There were mummies wanting to kiss me underneath the mistletoe at night, or folk asking for a good old ride in my sleigh. Then some rather choice requests started to come through, such as offers to purchase photos of my toes fondling tinsel, or people begging to watch me eat a full turkey in the nude. Whatever floats your boat, I suppose, but I saw a chance to stay relevant, and pretty much the rest is history. Over more conversation, I further discovered that the once big-bellied, diabetes-dodging senior citizen rose to a new level of fame as the silver fox of the magical world. As the wind howled outside and I nibbled on Mrs. Claus's penis-shaped gingerbread biscuits, my interviewee entertained me with some merry anecdotes. With admirers dotted around the world, he explained that most requests are very vanilla in nature and involve slipping down chimneys or an only a sable. But then there's always one or two who ask for something a bit more spicy, such as breaking into their houses to see them when they're sleeping and know when they're awake. He even detailed one celebrity who had written to him asking for 1,000 bottles of baby oil. But under the advice of his You like that? But under the advice of his PR team, he was advised against a P. Diddy Claus collab. Asked if he has any reservations about showing his body parts to fans or promoting certain types of behaviour, the wise man detailed, "It's a reindeer eat reindeer world out there." In the last handful of years, I've lost sponsorship deals with Coca-Cola and Marks and Spencer's. There were times when I couldn't even put figgy puddings on my table. But did any scumbags, maggots, cheap lousy faggots come to check on me? Happy Christmas, your arse, they did. The man continued, "I'm happy to pass the poison chalice of Christmas gift stress to Jeff Bezos. Sure, the work I'm doing now is a big pile of yellow snow compared to joyriding around the bloody globe in one night. Now, I'm earning 500 grand a month from voyeuristic prancers and vixens who are all too jolly to pay to see me frost by a Yuletide log." And as I shake the man's questionably lubricated hand farewell, I spot a diamond-encrusted Rolex. And it makes me wonder, should we all be on the nutty list instead of slaving our guts out in jobs we don't like for salaries that make Ebenezer Scrooge look generous? Will 2025 be the year that this cash-strapped journalist whips out his own sugar plums on the world of only fa-la-la-la-la-la-la-lands? Who knows? But for now, with Hunky Claus soon to be coming to town, you perverts, I'll sign off by wishing my readers a very horny Christmas and a hanky-panky New Year.
How do you follow that? But I'll tame everything down a wee bit here. The priest is back, yes. Yeah. Don't know how many Hail Marys you'll have to say for that one.
In the future, I hope that the Writers Hub goes from strength to strength.
I would love to see everyone fulfill their own dreams and aspirations, like becoming writers in their own right, because we're all writers, but I think everyone was just waiting on like that next progression of their journey along writers. I think there's going to be some great things coming about this place, the different writers all coming together. And for me in particular, obviously, the biggest dream would be to get a novel out there and all that stuff, but I think one of the most proudest thing would be a work out there that I can really stick my name to.
The Writers Hub have provided me with great opportunities. From reading in the Duncairn to having the confidence to enter competitions and funding opportunities. Moving forward, I would like to explore that further and see writing as a real career opportunity for myself.
This year, hopefully, we'll have a book pulled together from all the guys in the Writers Hub, and we should be able to share those, and hopefully people will enjoy them, and we'll be able to discuss them and why we thought that they were important to us. And from that, well, God knows what else will happen next, but hopefully it'll keep going.
To expand it to everybody, we're based in North Belfast, but that doesn't restrict us.
I mean, if we could get something published into a book, let's say ourselves as a group, I mean, that would be lovely. To be able to have something physical I can hold and maybe go, look, you know what, as a part of that, I got my name, I got my thoughts and words down onto print. That'd be really cool. I think that'd be I could stand by that and I'd be happy. I'd be very happy with that.
I'd love to see it continue to grow. I think at some stage we need a new generation to come in after us, that we all kind of give that space up to let and nurture new storytellers. We continue that on. You create the ladder, you climb the ladder, you hold the ladder in place for somebody else to come after you. Because the more people we bring up, the better our community gets. The more our community gets better, we get a healthier society, you know, and it's just better for everybody.